my way to the river. I haven't been up there a whole lot this year, and I don't think a whole lot of people have been on it much this year, just because it's been we've had so much rain. It's just every time it looks like, all right, it's getting back down to a fishable level, it's we get another 2, 3, 4 inches of rain and it gets blown out, which is frustrating for sure. We're actually supposed to have a tournament on the river today, and they canceled it, which I think is the right move. You know, when you have people of different skills in terms of, you know, their whitewater skills and their ability to be safe on a river, it's best to, you know, to be conservative. But certainly, even with the river, the Harrisburg gauge is up over 10 feet. That's not conservative. It's sort of questionable going up there. And my game plan, anyways, is to go from creek mouth to creek mouth. But that doesn't mean that I won't use the motor and get out onto some mid-river big eddies. Because one thing that is nice about really high water is that it collects all the fish and puts them in eddies. Yeah, puts them in very predictable places. Whether you can get them to eat or not, that's a different matter, but you at least know where they are. It's almost October, and oh, we just had some ducks come in this creek mouth. It's one of the first early mornings that I've come out and really needed a sweatshirt. And this is usually the time of year we really have an excellent river smallmouth bite up here on the Susquehanna. We'll see if it holds up in this creek mouth. You know, the high water certainly puts them on a treadmill and makes them need to eat. And it's just a matter of, can you put presentations in the right spots for them to find it in really muddy water. And I think on this watershed in particular, it doesn't really matter. They're going to find food because it is such a big river, and the turbidity, the muddiness, when it comes up, it usually stays muddy for a while. So, but yeah, I'm here at this creek mouth, and it's, you know, the creek itself is actually spewing mud right now, but I got this little triangular delta type area of pretty calm water right there. I know there's some fish right off just right there. All right, there's a start. So because there's so much current, I actually jumped up to a 1/2 ounce tungsten weight, and I'm just dropping this little ZMan Craw down into these little eddies and letting it sit. I didn't get anything on the spinnerbait yet. I still have faith in the spinnerbait, but getting the ZMan Craw down in there with a couple different things I like for fishing muddy water. Size, sound, scent, and speed are the things you ought to concentrate with fishing muddy water. And this has a couple of those things. It's a little bit bigger craw than I usually use up here. Just, you know, increasing the profile. It'll lift up because of the Elastec is just a buoyant material. Scent, obviously I've used, you know, put some scent on there. I'm going to reapply because I think I can catch a couple more out of this eddy here. That just helps them find it in the muddy water, or helps them realize, hey, this is food. Sound, I mentioned the tungsten weight. I actually have a little clicking bead in there as well. So each time I move it, there's a little bit of if you can hear that banging. So size, scent, sound, and speed. I think because it has cooled down a good bit, I gotta slow it down. You know, I was throwing the spinnerbait, and I think later in the day when the sun's out, I think they'll pick up on that spinnerbait bite will do well. But for now, I'm gonna stick with this for a while, just poking in these shoreline eddies. Okay, there's a couple in there. That's the cool thing about fishing higher water. Man, as soon as I pull out into the current, I'm being blasted down. But cool thing about this high water is when you find a spot and there's fish on it, there's going to be a bunch of them. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at that scrub island where I got those first 2 fish from, and then we're going to look at the rig that I'm using to fish it. You can look around my camera, you can see there's current coming through this side, there's current coming through there, and right here it kind of comes through in a V pattern. But right off the bow, I'm anchored up now, and I'm not gonna. I may cast in there one or two more times, but I've interrupted that area pretty good. Dropped my anchor in it, unfortunately, and that's where using the motor and staying back from it helps. But we're filming something, so I need to stay stationary. But you know, it wasn't up in all that brush. It was back here where you have the V that comes to the end, this pinch, and it was on a rocky bottom, and I can tell that because I was using these tungsten weights. So this is the rig. You can maybe see I'm actually in the process of rigging up another one, but you can see my weight down there. It's just this 1/2 ounce tungsten weight, and then this little clacking disc. I think it's a 1/0 mustad grip pin hook, and then the bait itself is this buoyant Elastec Turbo Craws in black. I don't know that I think I could do just as well with green or watermelon or whatever. I don't think that it's the as much the color as just the profile and the fact that when you put that on bottom, it lifts up off the bottom like that and just sort of wavers in place. Both bites came where it was just sitting still, and I was just feeling that tungsten weight just sitting on bottom. So I like the smaller hook just because I am throwing into this real brushy stuff, and you know, you want to use as small a profile hook as possible when you're potentially punching through stuff like that along the way to the hard bottom. Went down to the tail of the island upstream. Ooh, nice jump. It was the same sort of position in the eddy. It's that backstream V, all the way at the pinch off of the V. Same craw. Get in there. Nice, crisp thump. It got off, but a second ago I was just vertical jigging this guy. Live target, golden shiner, rattle bait, like 6 feet straight down, and that worked. Wow, got one to snap at it, which is good. It's a start of, you know, changing the speed part of the, you know, the pattern, and really cranking up the sound part of the pattern. I got trees behind me it wants to push me into. A little bit dangerous there. I'll turn around and show you what I'm talking about. Trees. It is trucking through the trees. I'm in another tight just right at the end of an island, just tight little eddy. All right, I got a log right here. Here's a neat little trick using the Boca grip. I can find a good enough piece to clip on. Hopefully that'll hold me in place, keep me from drifting around, because every once in a while there's a billowing of water that just scoops you out of position. So, but it's, you know, the eddy, it runs the back side of this island right in front of this one. I'm gonna get the other camera out and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about. It's a tight eddy, and here's the end of that island. It really, this water out here is some of the fastest I've seen. Out here, you could sprint and maintain position, but really I had to use the motor to really advance upstream and paddle with it. The eddy, where I get the first one, I mean, it runs the length of here, but as soon as you get hooked out, you know, you get hooked up and get swept down into this, look what you have to contend with. So it's a tight area to work with, and you get sideways on one of those and you know, we got problems. It's the whole area is like that. But there are fish right here. Let's go get some more. It's a much better position. The only problem is most of this is poison ivy. I'm gonna be itching in a few days. Yuck. Got something good on the rattle trap, yo-yoing it. Alright, you're a smallmouth. You never know. You never know when you jiggle that rattle bait down there what you're gonna get. But I had worked the whole area with the soft plastic, and I knew I felt some good, the right kind of bottom. And I hadn't caught anything beyond that first fish, so I got that rattle trap going in there, and that's a good fish. So yeah, I mean, you try one thing and you have faith in an area, and then you go back in and just yo-yo in that rattle trap, you know, right on top of them, just up down, up down, up down. And it was going down, and I felt it crunch, and I came up, and it bulldogged back down. It's actually nice that you can do this, even though you're 6 feet away from these fish. You can't do that in low clear water conditions. Like you got to throw rattle bait out and bring it in. This just vertical jigging right on top of them, and it isn't. I'm not any more than 6, maybe 7 feet. And they're eating it. You pop it up, and then you let it kind of hang there in their face. It's very similar to the suspending jerkbait presentation, where you rip it into place, stop, and you let it pause. The pause in this case, these fish are actually cold. The pause in this case is you just letting it hang there, you know, with 6 feet of line just off the tip of your rod, as opposed to suspending jerkbait where it rattles into place and you know, it drifts with the current. But this is simple, and it sort of speaks to the concentration of the fish. There's a lot of them in one spot, so you're just pissing them off and giving them something to take it out on. All right, time to find another one. So I'm looking upstream. There's a lot of braided islands right out in front of me that should have good potential, but you don't really know until you yeah, you get right up on it and you watch that foam and you look and see, you know, where's the current actually stopped. And that happened back there, and there was some good depth with it. Some of these places, the current stopped and there's not a whole lot of depth, and I would think that if the river gets too much higher than the level we're at, it's not a safe place for them to be. That one with, you know, the tail end of an island where it kind of scoured out, it just, you know, it had a nice refuge, good high water refuge, and part of that is depth. That's a good one. Loosen that drag of hair. Get this net out. Gotcha. Yeah. Maybe 8 feet from the boat to the side, 5 feet down, just up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And it didn't go down. He's going. Perfect. All right, so there's a big island here that this is the eddy for, and this fish was in the chute coming through the center of the eddy. So all that, you know, all that current that's flooding through there is washing food through, and guess who's sitting there saying, I'll eat whatever it is. So a lot of stuff that is, you know, I think normally terrestrial foods, I don't know, worms, bugs, mice, turtles, whatever that is just getting pushed through, and also minnows, crayfish. You know, this big old chute coming through, you know, what was dry ground 3 days ago, it's just washing food in, and he's sitting there eating it. Oh, I've been wanting one on a spinnerbait all day. I've been throwing this thing. Wanting them to chase. That's the first one, and I've thrown it a lot. I think they're a little bit cold. You know, the rain that we had was not a warm rain. As a first one on the spinnerbait. Sometimes you force it, but he was up at the back end of this island. Again, same thing, flooded island. He was sort of up in this little brush right here. So throwing a big clacker spinnerbait in there. Soaked me. All right, I want to get more in the spinnerbait. It's just fun. Fun feeling it, the blades, you know, going thump, 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 and then they stop, and then you're pulling. Oh, spinnerbaits are fun. All right, it's always good to come back to the scene of the crime. I threw up in here, and there's some of the brush coming right to the surface there with the spinnerbait. This is the spinnerbait I was using. It's a Assassinator clacker with a big swim bait on there. Years ago, I caught my personal best smallmouth on this during a river bassin tournament. It was 6 pound, 10 ounces. I've caught a lot of big fish on this spinnerbait. I wish they still made them, but they do not. But it's a 3/4 ounce. Those 2 big blades allow me to really slow it down if I want to, and I was moving it fairly slow when that fish hit. So speed is you know, certainly part of the equation, and the fact that I've thrown a lot and that was the first hit means that, you know, you do have to slow it down, because these fish have cooled off, but apparently they're cooling off up in this shallow flooded brush. Next island down, same spot as the last one. Real nice fish. Oh, and he jumped. I need to get you in the net. really cookie cutter location to the last one, and a little bit bigger than the last one. Good fish. I mean, I can see that island where I caught that first spinnerbait fish, and I'm pitching off at the end of the island. A little bit of brush right there with current pushing in on it. Nice. Nice fish. All right, let's apply the Muddy Water 4S's to this bait. I am not putting scent on it, so that S doesn't apply. Size, yeah, I would say so. That's a very big bait. Speed, these blades allow it to slow way down. And then sound, certainly these are banging together, but it's also the vibration that those blades make is sort of, you know, sound to their lateral line, if you will. So it's got 3 of the 4, and I don't know that the scent would help. Scent is more for those baits that you're gonna let sit still. But whatever it is, whatever you're fishing, increase the size, slow down the speed, make it, you know, its sound signature, its vibration, make it thump a lot. You do those things, you're gonna increase your catch in the muddy water. Oh, apparently there's one other S I forgot about. That's snag. If you're not snagging every once in a while, you're probably not fishing aggressively enough. Man, I got this one in there. I don't think I'm getting it back. Nope, I'm breaking it off. Oh, that came out. Did it? Yeah, it took the snap the stick off with it. That was worth it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. We need a net on that. Back to the craw. And just started wiggling it around in there's some wood there. Oh, that's a big one. Cool. And then the S of stealth, you really don't need it as much in muddy water. Just get right down there on top and just wiggle it around on them. Yeah, just a really nice big old dead tree that fell down there. I was like, I gotta jig that. That paid off. You going home? Do you want to go home? Yes, I do. All right. Thank you, Chunker. I see flooded brush. Come on, big smallmouth. Eat it. Eat it. Oh, you think it's tasty. Eat it. Eat it. Every once in a while you come upon a spot that you think you'd like to fish, but there's a strainer immediately downstream and it just isn't worth it. Even if there's the biggest fish of your life in there, that strainer will end your life. So I always keep my head looking downstream, just to make sure I don't drift into something. I got more coming up behind me. It's a handful. All right, good day on the river. Got a number of them in the upper teens. I didn't actually measure any of them, but I think that last jig fish was certainly in the 18 or 19 inch range. I got a couple of them like that on the spinnerbait too. The keys to connecting with them today is the 4 S's in muddy water. Size, you want to increase the size of your bait. Sound, whether that's a big blade on a spinnerbait going thump thump thump, or a rattle, or a bead in there clicking, something making more sound, with a rattle in the rattle trap or the rattle bait. Scent certainly helped when I was going with the jig. What was the last S? Size. Increase your size. Oh, speed. Speed. You gotta slow it down. Just give them a chance to find it. So, good day.